What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So if you guys saw the video that I uploaded last night, talking about Robin and Nami, these two new Sugafest exclusive characters, I think are actually pretty good. And if we continue on down this route, it's going to make this celebration a lot more easier to digest, because the start of this celebration has been absolute trash with the release of Zoro and Sanji. Definitely super underwhelming legends, but Robin and Nami, they're looking pretty good, so I like what they've done with these units, both of which seem pretty good in their own respective ways. But along with this, we have a bunch of new characters with rare recruits of Bellmere and Nico Olvia, as well as the new PKA character coming out, which is going to be Arlong. And I like that we're getting a new Arlong representation, because one of the best supports in the game, Legend Hody Jones, can actually attach to Arlong as well. So more uses for that is always a good thing. There's not only this, but there's also a brand new batch of limit break expansions and level limit breaks for a couple of key characters, which is kind of fascinating, and we'll talk about it as we move along. Here is the first of which. The character that really made not a lot of sense to receive a bunch of buffs is Coliseum Saga. So Saga is a movie character that we got way back, like 2016, 2017, maybe even 2018 days of One Piece Treasure Cruise, and it is weird that he's receiving these buffs now. He really should have received these buffs last month, because he had a fight with Zoro in one of the One Piece films. So he's not only receiving Limit Break Plus, but also Level Limit Break combined to make him somewhat usable now. This character is also one of the units that is required for the 10th anniversary, or the Memories of Straw Hat Zoro, for his super type and his either final tap or super 10 and whatever he had. So Saga here, when he's fully buffed, he gets Slasher -1 cooldown at the start of the quest, 4.5 times attack, and then also driven HP buff. Like, captain abilities, whatever. But the interesting part of his special, where he cuts your crew's health by 70%, but then you do damage to all enemies, so he can get around stun, and is a damage dealing special. Reduces threshold by 6, which is actually really cool. I like that he's got that. And then Slasher driven, get 2.25 times attack for 3 turns. And if Zoro is on the crew or as a support, extends the duration of base attack by 1, and then boost the attack of the next final tap for Slasher driven by 20%. I'm not really a big fan of boosting these final tap things. Like, it's just a really, like, bloated addition to a lot of specials these days, and I'm not really the biggest fan of them, because it doesn't give you immediate impact. A lot of the time you're just going to be waiting to use this towards the end, and yes, it does give a bit of additional damage, but let's be real here, if they replace this with a lot of other effects, this character would be even more useful. I think in most cases, you're just going to use him either to get around stun, get around threshold, or get an attack boost for multiple turns. And at the end of the day, he is free to play, and he is farmable. I believe he's been added to the Recollection Archive as well, so definitely get him maxed out, because he could be useful in some key circumstances. He is immune to stun as well with his crewmate ability, so it makes him more usable in that scenario. And he did receive the fear reduction as well, to ensure that the stun related stuff is able to get you can get around that. So Saga, I think, is a very interesting buff. As I said, should have really happened last month when Zoro actually released, but it is what it is. Now we move on. Clash Heracles, another one of the oldest characters in Treasure Cruise, is receiving level limit break here. So the captain ability for him is whatever. You're not really using Heracles for his captain ability. The main reason why Heracles was so good back in the day was for shooter or cerebral teams. And, you know, building a team with one of every color and being able to get around that content was really strong. Like Stronghold Ace, for example, building that, like, really powerful shooter team, generating the special from Heracles to basically give a full board of matching slots to your entire team. And then he was further used when Legend Crocodile V1 first came out, using him to generate a full board of matching slots for your full cerebral team, where you had one of every color, and it was like the god tier team to get around every piece of content in the game. At least that was, you know, back in the early days of Treasure Cruise. So let's see what they've done with this guy. First of which, reduces matching and unfavorable slot effects placed on the crew and special bind duration by 5 turns. So they've added that effect. That's new, so that's cool. I like that. He gives you a delayed conditional boost of 2.25 for 2 turns. Changes your left column slots to int sign recovery starting from the top, and then your right column slots, strength, dex, and quick, starting from the top. So you can see he generates a full board of, like, every type of slot naturally. So int, psi, strength, dex, quick, and a recovery slot. And then after that, changes crew's block slots into tandem. So he generates these slots, but if you already have block slots, then you get tandem slots instead. Okay. and then locks the crew slots for 1 turn and allows you to freely swap your slots 3 separate times. So you can generate these slots, switch them around depending on the positions of your units, and that's kind of the way that you would be abusing this type of character. But now he has the ability to get around Special Bind. That's really cool. And the delayed conditional boost synergizes with Usopp, of course, so it makes sense that this character is receiving a buff as Usopp just came out in that treasure map Sugofest. As for his crewmate ability, he does resist 10 turns of Special Bind if you have a shooter captain, so that does make a bit of sense, but it means that he's a little bit less useful because you need to specifically have a shooter captain for him to remove the Special Bind for the crew, so that could be a bit of an issue, honestly. But I think Heracles receiving a buff is always nice. I like that Clash and Coliseum units of old are receiving buffs to make them a little bit more useful in today's day and age, so I think that's a really, really nice change. Now, last month as well, we had level limit breaks for a Kizuna character, and we're getting another one here with Koala. Koala here, captain ability doesn't really matter, but I mean, 5.25 times attack from a free-to-play captain is not terrible by any stretch. And then the special ability, reducing all enemies' rainbow shield by 6, deals damage to 1 target, changes crew slots including block into matching. If you have a fighter, free spirit, or a cerebral captain, you get a defense down conditional boost 2 times for 2 turns, and if Sabo, Bello, Betty, or Nico Robin is on the crew or a support for this unit, then it further increases damage dealt, basically increases your conditional boost is what it does. So you will be able to generate a 2.4 times conditional boost from Robin, from Koala that is, if Robin, Betty, or Sabo are attached to this unit or on the same crew as this unit. So that's pretty cool. So realistically, you're mainly going to be using her to get around 6 turns of Rainbow Shield. She is a damage dealing special, and she does allow you to get a full board of slots. I think that's honestly really cool. And then you can get the conditional boost, but her effect doesn't provide defense down in any capacity, so you need to use this character alongside other units in order to actually inflict the defense down to the opponent. If I remember correctly, I believe this Koala debuted alongside Bello Betty Rare Recruit, and I think the Bello Betty enabled you to inflict defense down, so bit of synergy there between those two characters, but not too bad for a free-to-play unit. As I said, free-to-play captain going up to 5.25 is good. Special doesn't do that much, but it's just a better version of the character that we have had. And then a crewmate ability to generate a couple more matching slots. Finally, for level limit breaks here, we've got a treasure map character with Pudding, Halloween Pudding. This character was interesting with some unique mechanics, but doesn't really see that much play. Having a look at the captain ability here with the slight buffs, so if you get Limit Break Plus and Level Limit Break 3, then you get up to a 5.25 times attack based on the HP healed in the previous turn, and it also heals the crew 2 times recovery at the end of each turn, and it also resists Special Reverse by 2 turns, so that could be useful. But the fact that, you know, you have to have pretty good healing in order to reach the 5.25 times multiplier, I don't really think that's going to be that important. The special ability though, 25 turns, remember, for her special, which is the big downside to this unit. But it changes your tandem and recovery slots and type slots into matching, and then changes block slots into Semler. I believe this is a new addition to this character, changing block slots into Semler. Remember, Semler slots are very similar to Wano and Rainbow slots, where they cannot be manipulated by the opponent or by your own effects. So if the enemy potentially has a preemptive attack that changes your slots into really bad ones, you can kind of get around that if you have these Semler slots. Though at the same time, I hope that there is some type of effect in this unit that actually generates Semler slots to be counted as beneficial, because if that's not the case, then this does not help you in any way. But moving on, she does the orb change and then reduces your increased damage taken on your own crew by 10 turns. Normally that's not really that big of a deal. Boost the color affinity of your top rogue characters only by 2.75 for 1 turn. Okay, that's not really that great either. And then completely heals your health. After launching the special, applies the same special effect at the start of each battle for 3 turns. So yeah, this is the unique mechanic with this character. So after you launch it, basically for 3 turns, every time you enter a new stage, this special will basically activate again. So you activate the special, you get these effects, you clear that stage, and then when you enter the new stage, all of this gets activated again. So I don't think it's that great, honestly. There's just not a lot of use cases for this character to be useful, and the fact that the color affinity only works for your top row characters is a little bit of a meme. So as much as a fan of a lot of people are of Halloween Pudding, I don't really think she's that great, unfortunately. Then there's also some level limit breaks here for Broggy, Pirate Rumble Broggy. let's have a look at his passive. So he gives some crit up, guard up to your int allies, and if Broggy's on the crew, striker enemies get attack down 6, defense down 5. So really good for debuffing opposing strikers. But guard up and crit up is not a great rumble ability for Broggy, for Dory, that is. And then the special ability, he's always been good with his special. Gives your int allies an attack and speed buff and a recovery buff. And then if Broggy's on the team, targets enemies in a large horizontal range for 3.5 damage, which is pretty big. And then 3 enemies with 100% special CT for a 100% chance of special bind for 10 seconds. That's one of the most annoying components of this character. Being able to generate this effect of special bind is very frustrating. And 26 CT is very respectable for what it does, but you only really get the most out of it if Broggy is on the crew in order to generate that horizontal 3.5 damage, which is actually pretty good, especially when you have a lot of investments into him. So Broggy's pretty decent. We also have, well, Broggy, we'll talk about Dory, getting the character names mixed up. But this guy, this is the one that a lot of people like more, being Broggy, who is more of a damage dealing focus unit. So this guy with his new buff gives HP buff, speed buff level 6 to int, and then whenever you deal damage up to 4 times, your int allies get a further level 2 attack buff. So this guy giving HP, speed, and attack, and if Dory's on the team, striker enemies attack down 5, defense down 5, so further debuffing those striker characters. And then his special, 32 CT, which is a little bit higher than Dory's, but it does a medium range horizontal 3.5 damage, and then when there's 60 seconds or less, he does a further 2.5 times damage. And then if Dory's on the crew, psi enemies attack down level 10, defense down level 10, speed down level 10. So this guy definitely is the more offensive focus character, whereas Dory provides a little bit of utility with special binding opposing characters. So they're very, very good together though, either way. And there is the Limit Break Plus stuff, so these 4 characters are all receiving Limit Break Plus. Nothing really too noteworthy here aside from Saga getting Fear Reduction. Milky also getting Fear Reduction is kind of nice. The rest of them don't really matter, Shanks and this Conjurer or whatever. And then finally, to wrap up the video, we got the new batch coming out with some brand new rare recruits. And the cool thing about these rare recruits is that they're both shooter characters. So this is, even though like this whole batch is focused around cerebral and stuff, getting an inherent buff to shooters is never a bad thing as well, so shooter lovers rejoice. So we've got Bellmere here, being a, I believe she's a dex shooter cerebral, and her special ability will give the ability to remove 6 turns of bind, and then dex cerebral and shooters get a 2.25 times orb and attack boost for 2 turns. Furthermore, if Nami's on the crew or as a support for Bellmere, she removes 6 turns of burn and you heal 20,000 health. So the going out of your way to add Nami on the crew or as a support to receive burn reduction and heal is okay. I wish it was a little bit more. Like a 20k heal is like whatever. The burn reduction could be useful, but at face value, you're normally just getting bind removal, and then you're getting 2.25 attack and all boost for 2 turns. So I don't really think Bellmere is like amazing. I think she's okay. Very, very normal, generic rare recruit, honestly. Her crewmate abilities are actually really good though, healing an additional 700 per turn, and removing 1 turn of paralysis for the whole team whenever you're inflicted with it. That is very good, and definitely will see play. She does have Barrier Pierce, which is nice to see, and her support effect attaching to Nami and Nojiko once per quest if you use a special, reduces bind duration by 1 turn, and further increases increased damage taken by 0.2. This is fantastic. This is going to be probably used in like a super boss scenario to further buff the opponent's increased damage taken, but this is yet again a new support for Nami that is able to reduce bind. I believe up until this point, Nami actually only has 1 bind remover support, and it's on a treasure map rare recruit, and now we have a new character you can add to the list of bind removers for Nami. So that's obviously a very, very good thing. So support ability and crewmate abilities are very, very much carrying this unit. The special ability is like just alright for Bellmere. And to wrap up here, we've got Nico Olvia, who is also a shooter, psi cerebral shooter, and her special ability reduces top row cerebral and shooter cooldowns by 3. That honestly could be pretty good. And then reduces other characters' special charge time by 1 turn, reduces all enemies' damage reduction, Rainbow Shield, by 6 turns, and reduces damage taken by 70% for 2 turns. Overall, I'm liking this so far. Cooldown reduction, removal of Rainbow Shield, and damage reduction on your side of the crew. But then if Robin is on the crew or as a support on this character, boost color affinity of psi cerebral and shooter by 2.25 for 3 turns, and heal 20,000 HP. This character is a lot better than the Bellmere, just in terms of specials. fantastic. Cooldown, rainbow shield removal, damage reduction, and you also get 3 turns of color affinity and healing all together in one. Yeah, this character just seems a lot better. As for the crewmate abilities, resisting 1 turn of special reverse, additional healing, it does have barrier pierce, which is good, and the support attaching to Robin or Jaguar D Saw once per quest. If the supported character uses a special, you get 50% damage reduction for 1 turn, which is actually pretty decent, and further increases your chain lock effect by 0.25. That's okay. I definitely think Bellmere's support is a lot better, but this is fine. This will have its uses. It's just unfortunate we don't have many Jaguar D Saw characters in the game, because that would give that character a bit more love and support. Nico Robin already gets access to some fantastic supports, so this is again just another one you can add to that list for any specific niche scenarios. And then to wrap up the video, the final character we're going to talk about is the new Arlong. And remember, Arlong will be super evolving in the July treasure map, so he's going to get better with what we see here today. He being a Dex slasher powerhouse. Captain ability doesn't really matter that much, but the special ability sets all enemies' defense to 0 for 2 turns, cuts your own health by 50%, but then does damage based on the amount of HP that you lost, and then also inflicts a damage threshold on your side of the crew. So any damage above 5,000 gets reduced significantly for 1 turn, allowing you to tank death hits and stuff like that. And then it says, if the enemy has damage reduction status when you launch the special, so if they've got a rainbow shield when you use his special, increases all enemies' damage taken by 1.5 for 1 turn, so just a bit of additional increased damage taken. But then it says if the enemy has threshold status when you launch the special, after 1 turn has passed, boost the chain multiplier by plus 1.3 for 2 turns. So if they have threshold, you don't get the benefit of it until 1 turn has expired. So that's a little bit of a weird scenario. I don't really understand what the use case for this is specifically, but it's interesting. And then if the enemy has defense up status when you launch the special, further increases all enemies' increased damage taken effect by plus 0.2, including the effect from the special. So if the enemy has rainbow shield, threshold, and defense, you can get all of this to activate simultaneously. But to get like the best out of it, I suppose, you want them to have rainbow shield and blue shield, so you can get increased damage taken and then increase it by a further 0.2. And then if they have threshold, you don't get the benefit of it until the turn after it with the clock buff. So yeah, Arlong is very, very interesting. I don't think this is like that great. It's weird. This character is very, very bizarre. And then there is another effect here which says after that, boost Dex slasher powerhouse at base attack by 800 for 1 turn, and after 1 turn, boost the chain multiplier by plus 0.1 or 1.0 for 1 turn. Okay, so this could be a typo here because it says if threshold is applied after 1 turn, apply chain addition, but then it says here after 1 turn, applied chain addition. So I guess it just depends. Like if the enemy has threshold, you get a better chain addition, otherwise you get a lower one. Or it could be that one of these is a chain multiplicative buff so that you can actually stack them both together. If these are both chain additions, then this is like a whatever. Honestly, this unit is not that great. I just don't see this character being used all that much. But as I said at the start of the video, Hody Jones, Legend Hody Jones, doesn't get a lot of characters to access and to attach to, but this is a new unit that you can abuse for that kind of thing. So, I mean, I just don't think he's really that great. He does state that he is immune to stun as a sub, meaning you can use his special to reduce your health, which allows you to remove stun for all your other characters, and then also just get a bit of attack buff, and reduces 1 turn of attack down on the crew by 1 turn as a crewmate is actually really good. So that's a pretty neat effect. He does have fear resistance, and then the rumble stuff is kind of terrible, but yeah, I think Arlong isn't really that great. I hope that his super evolution halfway through July is going to make him a little bit better, but at face value right now, I think that he's a very underpowered free-to-play unit. Of course, there's going to be some circumstances where the enemy has a bunch of defensive effects, and then you can launch his special and you get a bunch of buffs out of it. I just don't think he's that great, unless if with the super evolution that comes out inevitably, it will allow his defense reduction to go through like status effects, immunity and stuff. That would be pretty strong, and his increased damage taken, albeit a very weak increased damage taken, even if that is allowed to go through status effects, that would definitely help and make Arlong way more usable moving forward. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about all these brand new updated characters down below in the comment section. Which character are you most excited for out of this brand new batch? Do you like the Bellmere or the Olvia? Do you think the Saga buffs are really nice? I think all of these characters are really interesting. None of them really stand out and say to me they're like the most broken units in the game. But the new Sugofest exclusive Nami and Robin both seem very, very good. And at least they are going to be just regular end of month batch characters. So after their event period has expired, they're going to be injected into those regular red tickets, so you can hope to pull them from those types of tickets moving forward. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.